Hey, hello everybody, Shadow SP here, and I am here playing more Granblue Fantasy. I'm actually redoing a video because I was incredibly dissatisfied with the way that I managed to clear something. We're going to go ahead and be redoing the Macula Marius quest from the T1 series. I got a clear, but it was an incredibly unconvincing clear. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this: we can do better. Wait, hold on. Let me double check. I'm on the right. I'm doing the right one, right? Here, Macula Marius. Yeah. What? Okay. Alright, so I've changed up my team from the last time that I did this, and this is obviously a completely different team from the first time I did this, which was before we got the Knick Knack Academy characters. So I've changed it up. We're going to be running Relic Buster main character, mostly because we really want to have the Veil from Tactical Shield every so often. And we're running Aletheia frontline for, the main damage dealer for the entire thing. We're running Wilder because he's pretty solid. And we're going to be running Kine in the last slot. It's a character that we haven't run before, but he's basically the only other Earth character that does anything if we don't need Yuri's substitute. And it does turn out, since we're going for full auto, the Love Live doesn't really work properly because they have 2 green skills, and green skills never get used. They do have a heal on their 4th skill, but it's not consistent enough to really worry about that. So our back line is going to be Eugen and Sarasa, because we want 2 characters that can just pump out quick damage in the last 5%, because basically the boss has a 5% trigger that can wipe your whole front line. And that is fine, as long as you can convincingly win with just the back line. I've considered a couple other setups, like one where we try to have Aletheia in the back, but it doesn't seem worth it because he does so much damage over time. Our summons, in case anyone was curious, we're going to be bringing Diablo, Ifrit, Poseidon, and Nobio as our quick summon. Nobio just adds healing, shields if we have any that have been broken. He adds a charge bar. Basically, Nobio does a lot of stuff. Doesn't do damage, but we don't really need to do damage. Alright, let's do this. Alright, so just to show off what we need to do, make sure this quick summon is on if you have Nobio set as quick summon, which we do. And make sure, if you're doing this setup, that Aletheia's 1st skill is off, because you do not want to be using this thing in full auto. It will cause more problems than it's worth. And technically, I shouldn't have used Alethia's 1st skill on that turn, but I don't think it's going to matter. Basically, the whole idea is just to demonstrate that this is a consistent setup. Yeah, Kain's first skill really does not do any damage. Like, it's fine, but it is severely lacking in yeah, so we got hit with a seal, so we're not charge attacking. That's okay. We're not reliant on doing that for all of our damage output. I do wish we had better main hands. The ones we're using are pretty bad. Yeah, the only thing that we really care about with Kain is his third skill. Because everything else about him doesn't really do anything. And his passives are pretty good. But yeah, his third skill gives us, you know, attack defense the entire team plus double attack rate. It's not so bad. If we had a way to give supplemental damage to our Earth team, then his first skill would be a lot better. Yep, not so bad. There's also pretty much the ideal time to hit 50%. Yeah. So, I want to talk about why we want to have Aletheia's first skill off. It's because this boss has a trigger whenever you dispel a buff from it that causes it to buff itself and debuff you with Azure Spikes, which means that all damage instances you put out with that character heal the boss. And the problem with that with Aletheia is if he charge attacks again, he'll refresh his first skill, which will dispel that buff that the boss put on itself, which will trigger the trigger ability again, put the buff back on the boss, give you Azure Spikes, cause you to heal the boss again. Basically, it's a lot of trouble. It's just stay out of it on this particular fight. It's not worth fighting over the first skill. Yeah, and the reason that it doesn't work, that it works out that way, like it starts working from the very beginning because the 100% trigger puts a mirror image buff on the boss. If it weren't for that, it would be possible to run this with Aletheia's first skill on. I guess you could run it in a different party order and have an AoE skill come out first to remove the mirror image. But I'm not sure we actually have one of those with what we got. can definitely see Kynes taking a lot more damage than most of our people, than, you know, our other guys. Because of his second skill, which decreases his defense. But as long as as long as he survives, we don't really care if he takes damage. And the fact that he has the innate guts means that if we get to the 5% trigger with him, and he hasn't popped that, he'll survive into the last 5%, which gives us a little bit of extra oomph to push through. Yeah, and with MC on Relic Buster, they can also just dodge this hit. And if Armored is up, your team will survive. But you can see here, right? Let me turn off full auto so I can talk about it. The amount of damage that was dealt completely obliterated that 4,500 point shield and almost killed Welder and Kyne through a armored buff that reduced their damage by, well, I don't remember the exact magnitude. I think it's probably 30%. And this defense buff from Kyne, and this 4,500 point shield. It's like, if none of these buffs lined up when we ran into that trigger, it's easy to see how the entire front line could be wiped out. Like, if the main character didn't have enough machine cells to dodge, if you didn't have the shield up, if you didn't have you know, the defense buff up, the entire front line can lose their whole HP bar. And the way we've set it up, that should be fine, because we would swap in Eugen and Sarasa to take down the boss with relative ease, because those two have pretty high burst potential on turn 1. And if Kyne survives, you know, because he's got guts, Kyne can also contribute to that. If the main character survives because they've got the machine cells, they can contribute to that. So that was the whole idea behind the way the party was set up. It doesn't look it looks way better than the last video did, because on the last video everything didn't line up. Also, we weren't using Kyne in the front line, we were using Eugen, and our back line was not set up as well. Right, we had Love Live in the back line and Sarasa, so Sarasa had to do everything because Love Live can't do anything in full auto. All right, well, that was much more satisfying. I'll say that much. It might be worthwhile thinking if we end up doing this a bunch, it might be best to turn off Kyne's second skill, because that'll lower his personal damage, but it'll raise his survivability by a bunch, because that lowers his defense by a decent chunk. But you did see, when he had that skill on versus when he didn't, his charge attack did like 300,000 more damage. Well, it's hard to say. I'm not that versed with all the SRs, so like I don't know exactly what breaking points you need to hit with some of these. And the ones that don't have 5-star uncaps have way lower modifiers on their charge attacks, so they need a lot more power to push through and get closer to capping. I mean, we're not capping anyway, but if we were to be approaching cap, right? They need more power to get there because their multipliers are lower. Alright. So, what do we gain from Macula Marius? Well, first of all, we gain the Macula Marius anima, which we need. It is one of the last things that we need for the SSR process for the seraphic weapons. And you need these anima for the the Arc Arm summons also, so it's pretty good to get these. In addition, drops this weapon, Ancient Oberon. It also drops regular Oberon. This weapon is useless. This weapon, however, this weapon is pretty core for advancing Water's power. So we're gonna need some of these. It's worth noting, though, that the Knick-Knack Academy gives out 4 full copies of this that are 4-starred. So I don't need to farm this for this weapon, really. I might get 1 copy because of reasons that I will explain later. But for now, I'm mostly just gonna be farming this quest for the anima because we need the anima. We do. All right, just 2 more. Good stuff. All right, well, thanks for watching. Shadow SB, signing out.